Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. My name is Iqfa Miftabona. I am student of class A with student ID number E1A025033. I am from the Faculty of Law, Jenderal Sudirman University. This video is submitted for the course English for Law taught by Mr. Mustashfa Tabib Karyadi and Miss Nisa Royasa. In this video, I would like to present my legal analysis of the 2002 Bali bombing case. What becomes the background of the case is the first Bali bombing that occurred on October 12, 2002 in Kuta, Bali. The case started when three coordinates bomb explosions struck Petersburg, the Sari Club, and an area near the United States Consulate in Denpasar. As a result of the attack, 202 people were killed and 209 others were injured, coming from more than 20 countries. The majority of the victims were Australian citizens. The attacks were carried out by members of Jemaah Islamiyah, an extremist terrorist group. This incident became one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in Indonesian history. At the time, Indonesia did not yet have a specific law regulating terrorism, which caused a legal vacuum in prosecuting the perpetrators. Therefore, the government issued government regulation in lieu of law, Perpu number 1 of 2002, followed by Perpu number 2 of 2002, which applied the regulation retroactively to the Bali bombing case. According to Article 1, Paragraph 1 of the Indonesian Criminal Code, no one may be punished except under a law that existed before the act was committed, reflecting the principle of legality. The Bali bombing also falls under Article 340 of the Criminal Code on premeditated murder and Article 187 on causing explosions, which already criminalize the perpetrator actions. However, the government issued government regulation in lieu of law, Perpu number 1 of 2002, later enacted as law number 15 of 2003 on eradication of terrorism and apply it retroactively to Perpu number 2 of 2002. According to Articles 8 to 10 of Perpu number 1 of 2002, acts of terrorism include the use of explosive and other dangerous materials that cause mass casualties and widespread fear. Furthermore, according to Articles 11 to 16, criminal liability extends to those who plan, assist, conspire, or financial terrorism acts. This retroactive application conflicts with Article 28I, Paragraph 1 of the 1945 Constitution, which guarantees the right not to be prosecuted under retroactive law. The court's reasoning was strong in establishing intent, but it failed to consider the constitutional implications of applying criminal law retroactively. While I agree with the court's firm stance in recognizing terrorism as an extraordinary crime and ensuring accountability for the perpetrators, but I disagree with the retroactive application of the anti-terrorism law because it undermines the principle of legality and legal certainty granted by the Constitution. In my opinion, the court's decision was partly justified but constitutionally problematic. I agree with the court in recognizing terrorism as an extraordinary crime that threatens national security and public safety. The judges correctly applied Article 340 of the Penal Code on premeditated murder and Article 187 on the use of explosive, which clearly criminalize the defendant's action and justify severe punishment. However, I disagree with the retroactive application of the anti-terrorism law. Although the intention was to ensure justice for the victims, apply criminal law retroactively undermines legal certainty and the rule of law. This concern was later confirmed by the Constitutional Court, which declared Law Number 60 of 2003 unconstitutional for violating the principle of legality. Therefore, while the outcome of punishing the perpetrators might be morally acceptable, the legal method used raises serious constitutional concerns. In my view, the court should have relied more consistently on existing provisions of the Indonesian Penal Code rather than justifying retroactive legislation. The court's decision in the Bali bombing case has significant ethical and social implications. On one hand, the ruling sent a strong message that terrorism is an unacceptable crime and that the state is committed to protecting public safety and the rights of victims. This decision helped restore public trust in law enforcement and reinforce a sense of justice for the victims and society. On the other hand, the retroactive application of the anti-terrorism law raises ethical concerns related to fairness and the rule of law. Allowing criminal laws to be applied retroactively might create a dangerous precedent that weakens legal certainty and constitutional protection. From an ethical perspective, justice should not only focus on achieving the right outcome but also on ensuring that the legal process respects fundamental rights. Socially, this case highlights the tension between national security and human rights protection. It emphasizes the importance of developing clear and comprehensive legal frameworks to address terrorism without sacrificing constitutional principles. Therefore, the case serves as an important lesson for balancing security, justice, and fairness in a democratic society. In conclusion, the 2002 Bali bombing case was a turning point in Indonesia's counterterrorism legal framework. Although the retroactive application of law violated the principle of legality, the government acted under emergency conditions to protect society. The case reflects the difficult balance between justice for victims, national security, and constitutional principle. In my view, this case teaches us that the rule of law must be strengthened without undermining human rights, especially when dealing with extraordinary crimes such as terrorism. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.